Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining. Welcome Barbara, John, Aranya, hello. Anna, Adrian, welcome. Letting folk come in.
Awesome. Hey, Barbara, Aranya, so good to see you. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
Lena, hello.
Elena, that's great.
Yeah, if you want to put in the chat where you're calling in from, it's great to see the globalness of our cultural emergence community. If you want to put where you're calling in from and something you're grateful for today. Got Aranya in Cornwall. Give a minute for some people to arrive. And welcome to anyone that's watching the recording as well. Thank you for joining. Got John in California, Kelvin in Canada, Adrian in York, Brighton, Sweden, Portugal. Oh yeah, the full moon is gorgeous at the moment, isn't it? Sam, you're in Shropshire, so you're very close to me. Yeah, food in the garden. I haven't got that much food in the garden at the moment, but I've got the promise of food coming this season. It's that time of year where it's a beautiful kind of promise
Kenya.
of time ahead. Yeah, welcome, Priscilla from Kenya. Second day in a row that we've joined call. Croatia. Yeah, grateful for everything, including Zoom and the English language that connects us. Yes, I'm very grateful, very appreciative of all the people that are listening in their second language. Thank you for that. Yeah, lovely. A few more people joining. So I'm grateful for some rogue bats foraging. Yeah, it is quite early for bats to be early in the year for bats to be out, isn't it? I think they pop out when there's the promise of a bit of food to keep them going, is what I've heard. People arriving. Great. Welcome Emma, Ruben, Annie from France. Yay. Ruben from Spain. Love the globalness of this. Tony from Denmark, Peggy from the States. Amazing, yeah. Lovely. Well, thank you everyone for joining. It's really, yeah, delightful to be able to celebrate the success and the completion of the cultural emergence empowerment and design deck here. And yeah, I just really appreciate everyone who's been part of this journey. There's been so many people here on this call and many people who don't even know they've been part of the journey, like all the musicians and the songs that have supported me while I've been creating this, and all the people that have been on courses and shared a bit of insight, and people that have been on shared things with me on Instagram and Facebook, and then all my Kickstarter supporters. And I know many of you here today support my Kickstarter, which I was looking at. It was like nearly a year ago. It was back in March that I did the Kickstarter, and I must admit at the time I was like a bit like, oh, why am I doing this Kickstarter when I'm still in the process and not kind of completed the card deck. But what it did for me was kickstart my process, and I've been planning on doing this card deck for several years, and it kind of was a little bit stuck in the process, shall we say, or I was dragging my heels, a little bit procrastinating. And then from doing the Kickstarter, I just had this huge accountability, and which was just made me go, yes, I'm going to complete this. I'm 100% committed to this, which I always find is part of the creative process, is making that full commitment. But and then also seeing the support and the enthusiasm for having the card deck, and many messages coming through of like, I can't wait to get them in my hands, and they're going to be so useful and so excited. And that was all just support for my process. So yeah, I'm just it came. I sort of pushed the baby out, shall we say, from the printers just before Christmas, and so I did do a smaller celebration for the Kickstarter community, but I also wanted to do something which welcomed in more people, and people that maybe haven't got the card deck yet but were keen to find out more. So and start the new year off with celebrating. So thank you everyone for joining me. Yeah, so I'm gonna share in this call some of my process for creating the card deck. We're also gonna hear from some of my collaborators who are on the call, Jon and Delvin, and maybe Barbara, you want to share something, and then give space for questions from you as well. So if you have questions about my process or how to use the cards, or would like to share anything, there'll be space for that as well. So yeah, I've started with some gratitude, but I'd also like to pass over to Jon Young, who's been part of this journey, this emergent journey for creating cultural emergence. We, back in 2016, we agreed, without having actually met each other, to doing a course together, and we weren't really sure what the course was going to be, but we called it Emergence, and then realized that culture was where our overlap was between our work, and and we wanted to expand what we were doing, and not just sort of do what I always do with people and permaculture, and what Jon always does with nature connection, but actually look at like what might emerge from the collective wisdom, from coming together, from our collective wisdom, but also from the course participants. And through that, this amazing toolkit has come about. And yeah, and we didn't know what the journey would be like, but it's been fun so far, hasn't it, Jon? So yeah, would you like to share a bit about the journey of cultural emergence and the card deck, and maybe what we're also getting up to next?
Yeah. Libby and I have a friend in common named Ruth Corey, who lives in Spain. She has a permaculture uh, forest restoration project going there. And she said to me, "Oh, you've got to meet Looby. She's got something that you're missing." And then she said to Looby, "You got to meet Jon." And the two of us came together, as Looby said, without a plan. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I have the greatest hits. I've been teaching for 40 years. I know what I can pull out and teach that works. And then Libby said the same about herself. And then she's like, "But why don't we just like go in the space in between and just see what comes out?" And I thought, well, that's a really fun way to get to know somebody. And yeah, the rest is history. It's been a fabulous journey together. Libby and I have been teaching together, well, in person a little bit, but mostly online through the Cultural Emergence family of programs and Cultural Emergence Effective Design. We're right in the middle of doing that right now. We're actually starting, what it actually starts officially like in 2 weeks, huh, Libby?
Yeah, so our doors are open now, but the first live call is in 2 weeks, and yeah, we're already recording things for people to start the end of next week. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's our annual process, Libby and I, to go through a process of kind of inner searching, reflecting on the prior year. And then we always start the new year with a group of people going on a journey to design something into action in their life. And it's been incredibly powerful. I just feel like these cultural emergence tools have surfaced a field of creativity and synchronicity that benefits everybody who dances in a group field. It's pretty amazing. And the cards arrived pretty quickly. You sent them, and then we were surprised that they arrived 3 days later from the UK to California, which seemed like a miracle. And it's been really fun to have them, in my hand, and where, how the tools themselves. It's just so nice to be able to just say, oh, we're working on principles, and be able to look at that. And the artwork has a kind of a spirit to it as well. So these are just really fun tools. And Libby incorporated the 8 shields, which was my contribution, from the work prior to meeting Libby. And I've been having a lot of fun with these because, I just ran a 10-week recording session. I had to re-record an older set of teachings and bring it more into the modern age, if you will. And I realized that I basically have renamed the 8 volumes based on what's here in the cards, sunrise, early morning, midday. These 8 archetypes describe feelings that we're all familiar with and the flow that happens naturally in nature. And it became evident to us that that same flow goes through design process. It goes through projects. It goes through obviously our everyday, because it's really the flow that's created by the spinning of the earth, and the way the sun rises in the east and travels through the sky and sets in the west, and the different feelings at the different times of day, and all the stuff is just blended so nicely together with the cultural emergence principles, and weaving what we get from our nature connection and our people connection and our self connection, and pulling it all together into this really fun set of cards, and there's so many different ways you can use them. And I'm curious to hear, some of the things that you're offering, Libby, or what you're hearing from people. But yeah, really thankful that you threw yourself into this, because I watched you go through the process over the years, thinking about we should have a card deck, and then when you told me you were going to do a Kickstarter, I had sworn off Kickstarters. Like I had done one for Coyote's Guide, and it was so challenging. I think it took a few years off my life and put gray hair on my head. And I said, oh, I'll never do a Kickstarter again. And then Libby says, I'm not going to do a Kickstarter. I'm like, oh no, Libby, no. Because then I knew I was going to help. I mean, heck, I could not help. You know what I mean? So then I was suddenly in the boat, the Kickstarter boat, going down the rapids with Libby. And but I'm really glad we did it. And just really thankful for everybody who helped. I know Delvin and Barbara had a lot to do with it, but I also know that your daughter Shanti and her friends sewed bags, and that the people in Nepal that Chris got, had sewn bags for it. And like, so many people worked on this, and I don't even know who all the people are, but I'm really grateful to all of you and all of the supporters. Really, really grateful to have these in hand. So thank you all. And if you're excited or curious about our cultural emergence program, there's still room. So, Libby will tell you how to find us if you want to. But yeah, thanks. And thanks for doing this. And thanks for showing up in support of this.
Yeah, thank you, John. Yeah, you have been part of it for sure, and we had a new principal. So after writing Cultural Emergence, which came out in 2020, and I thought, okay, we're sort of complete there. We've got 29 principles, that surely is enough. And then Barbara was like, you lot keep on talking about connection, but there's not a principle that says that has the word connection in it. So I was like, okay, John, we need a principle that's got connection in. And so he's like, well, make connection first. That's the principle for that. So it's the card deck has a new principle that came out. So it came out of that collective inquiry that's been part of the process of just people bringing their questions and showing their blind spots and showing their process and asking the questions that then emerge the solutions. And that's really been the process for creating the visuals as well, of just thinking about it, and feeling the sense of each of these principles, each of these practices, and then also being in nature and looking around and observing the patterns and the colors, and just, you know, weaving those together. And I think I pulled out some of the tools I've used earlier, and when I was writing People and Permaculture, I realized then, so back at like 12 years ago, that I needed to use the tools that I was writing about. If I'm, you know, if I'm saying, hey, these things really work, well, I need to use them for myself to make them work. And it certainly did with the with writing. So then I was like, again, how can I use the tools to create the design deck? And this was the one, Move the Tools, which was, I think, the key one and most useful for me. It was just this, it says, show up and see what emerges. Movement invites flow and release. Create a pathway for imagination to meet the material world. Use the tools you have. And this was just so pivotal for me, to just show up with the pencils I had, not to be constantly like, oh, I haven't got the right colors, or I need to go and buy more stationery. It's like, no, what tools have I actually got, and how do I just show up and see what flows out? So I might have an idea in my head, but if it's staying in my head, it's just an idea, and I needed to actually engage, make contact, pencil and paper, and then see what comes out. And something that maybe something would come out that was actually completely different to what I had in my head, or sometimes it was quite close. It would be varying, but that key principle of move the tools. And it's the same then with all the tools of like, how do we actually use the cards? And so this was part of the rationale for creating a card deck, was that then we'd be able to have much more connection with them and be able to use them more directly than or to support what we've read about. That it wasn't just okay, we've read it, put the book on the shelf. It's like, no, okay, how do we engage with these tools? Yeah, I'm wondering if there's any questions anyone would like to ask. I could talk for hours, but I'm also keen to kind of hear any questions or reflections that you have that you might like to share. But yeah, Rania.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing for me is that it just, in terms of zoning, just makes it so much more accessible, because a book, there's almost kind of a mystery of the book, and you feel, I mean, you can use a book like an oracle, but I feel cards work much better like that. And just since these have arrived, I mean, I brought them up here this evening, but they basically live on the dining table, and I just pick a card out. In fact, where's the one for this evening? I got a butterfly emergence. See, that one's gone. It's flown away. So yeah, so yes, for me, it just, as you say, it just makes it more easy to connect with the cards. And they also, I mean, I don't mean to be, anyway, it's just that I was surprised how beautiful they were as well, because I was expecting them to be useful, but then, wow, they're beautiful as well. So which yeah, just another level of beauty. So yeah, because I'm quite practical in terms of but I do like a nice pack of oracle cards. So yeah, I found I've engaged with them much more than I have the book. The book's kind of gone on the shelf now, whereas the cards are out, and they're just, yeah, zoning. It's just it's small, but it's compact, and you can access everything very easily. But you allow your, you know, I believe that my subconscious knows what the card is. It's always uncanny what comes out and how it relates. So yeah, I love them. I love them.
Yeah, thank you, Rania. Yeah, it's true. It's like that they there's something around the tactileness of them and the visuals that really engages more of ourselves, and it's very holistic then our connection with them, and how when we pick a card, then it invites our own intuitive knowing. So it invites us to actually think about how it speaks to us personally in this moment, and to make those ropes of connection with the tools, and see how we can incorporate them into our daily lives. So yeah, it's great to hear that they're that they're used on your dining table and used regularly. Love that. Yeah, thank you, Anya. Graham, you have your hand up.
Yes, a little observation for you, Looby. I took them along to a gathering at Whistlewood on Tuesday night, and they were played with in a way that a book would never have been. If I'd taken a book along, somebody might have looked at it, but the fact that the cards were there, people could pick up one, they could discuss it with somebody, meant that there was a huge amount of engagement, which was absolutely delightful to see. I didn't explain it at all. I just took the cards along. I just put them out on the table. It was a sort of potluck supper event. So there were just 2 or 3 cards, and then the whole pack in one corner, and people were just playful with them, which was delightful. So thank you for that. It's a lovely idea to do them as cards, do these things as cards.
Yeah, thank you. Really lovely to hear that. And two reflections I have. One there is that, yeah, you don't need to explain them. That's one of the beauties of them. It's like, well, if someone says to you, oh, hey, you use this word permaculture or cultural emergence or 8 shields, or what are you talking about? I don't know. And you can try really hard to explain these things, and the explanations kind of go over people's heads. But if you say, hey, I've got a card, do you want to pick a card, that is like they immediately can respond and engage with them in a way that then maybe sparks their like questions about, okay, what might that mean to me, and what might permaculture or cultural emergence have to offer after they've engaged with it, after they've sort of seen some benefits. And Aranya's saying, yeah, there's more edge than a book. Many people can look at them at the same time. Exactly. We can have 96 people looking at the cards simultaneously and all getting something from them immediately. And then the other word that I picked up that you used was playful. And this was on the CEED course that Jon was talking about, that we do every year. Well, there's been 2 designs that I've done that have been directly related to creating the CEED deck, or the card deck. And one of them I did, and I was like, okay, I want to do this card deck. What shall I name the design? And Jon was like, well, you kind of want people to engage with it, don't you, and engage with the tools playfully. So I actually called the design Playful Engagement, because that was the aim. I wanted it to be a way of playfully engaging with the tools. So yeah, I love to hear that they are proving to be playful in there as well. And there's something around cards that we associate as a game, isn't it? We associate cards in that way of like, we're playing a game, we're having fun with them. So we've got those associations as well. And I'd just like to also share with you another part of my process, which is that quite a few years ago, I was doing the CEED course, and I wanted to choose something really small as my design, and I was really like, well, what's like right in front of me that needs designing? And in the studio here at Applewood, there was like a big wall that had loads of paint taken off it because the blue tack kept on pulling things off, and it just looked really scruffy, and it was just huge, but it just didn't have the aesthetics for me. So I was actually designed this wall, and I was like, what do I want to do with this wall? That was my focus of the design. And because it's we use it as a teaching space as well, it was like, well, I can't just do a mural on it because we need to use it. So the design solution for this was this giant cork wall that just spans the entire length of the wall, which it's about, I don't know, it's about 6 or 7 meters. It's giant, and that's been my process for, like, it then became pivotal in creating the design deck, because it was this principle here of make progress visible. So each of the originals then ended up on the corkboard, and it actually fit 96 of these, the originals a lot bigger, so that was part, I didn't know it when I was designing for this this giant corkboard, but actually it was a pivotal part of the process. Yeah, I know I've done many many oh yeah, Emma's saying that she wants to, do you want to share the screen, Emma? She's got a picture of my giant corkboard. Here we go. There we go. There's me with my giant corkboard, and you can't see the edges of it. It wouldn't all fit in, but there's another kind of several rows of artwork there. Thanks for showing, Emma. Yeah. So that was So sometimes we design something and we're not quite sure of, like, all the ways we might use it, but in the future, but it has that. Yeah. Is any other questions? Yeah, Georgie's saying there, feel really inspired by your reflections on Move the Tools. Yeah. Sometimes starting can be the hardest thing, especially when we have a big scary task in front of us. I like how this card provides encouragement to just have a go and to play. Yeah, so I have a quote on my wall, which has been on my wall since I started writing People and Permaculture, which was my first book, and I didn't know at that time how to write a book at all. But I had on my wall the quote, "Begin and the impossible will become possible." And that's really, every time I sit down to blank piece of paper or blank document, it's just like, begin. Doesn't matter where you begin, just begin. And that's really been part of it. And then with this project, another tool that was really useful, another card, this one here, which has got mountains and a path, and it's solutions thinking. And the quote on the end is, see the path, not the mountain. And that would always remind me and bring me back to, instead of like, oh my God, I've still got 80 cards to go, or however many it was, to actually just see, okay, what's the next step I can take? What's the next one? What's the next one? And keep me focused on moving forward step by step, rather than constantly looking up and going, oh my God, I've still got all of this to do. That was a pivotal pivotal card that was really useful for me. Yeah, anyone have any other questions about my process or comments? I know that the cards have, yeah, Barbara?
Yeah, I was wondering, how did you make the cards so wise? They have really, every time I pick a card, it's so, how do you do that? Magic.
Well, yes, thank you. I think part of it is that it taps into your own wisdom. So it's yes, I've made the cards wise, and it also connects with your wisdom and your wisdom of exactly your own circumstances, exactly how you operate as an individual. So it helps us to connect with ourselves in a way that then does make it feel like all the cards are wise, but it's actually it helps bring your wisdom out as well. So and I did put time into it, and there has been a lot of collective process and distilling of the tools for it. So it was kind of, there's been a real process of expansion and contraction. So it started with with Jon and I, and not much, and just kind of moving around, sort of saying, okay, well, Jon, you've got these core routines, these practices of nature connection. Well, what would be the practices that we would need to do to create regenerative culture? And then it's like, okay, and in permaculture we like principles, so it's like then the question of what are the principles of cultural emergence. So those have all kind of flown out and really grown, and grown into a big book that was my process was helped by a pandemic that meant that nothing else in my life was happening apart from book writing. So, my conspiracy theory is that the lockdown was just all the writers in the world who wanted to finish their books. And so then it really expanded out, and then with the card deck I needed to then like pull that wisdom and really distill it and be really like, what's the essence of what I'm trying to share here. And then that essence kind of being able to connect with you as an individual, because we all have our own wisdom to bring. Yeah. Thanks, Barbara, and thanks, Barbara. Barbara and Delvin have been part of the Kickstarter team that really supported me, and to share them out in the world. And I'll give you a moment. There's another question here, and then I'll pass it over to Delvin to say something. So Georgie, how do you allow time for that emergent process? Did you start with a deadline and work backwards, or allow the process to flow and take its own time with no set deadline? Well, yeah, one of the I reframe the word deadline to lifeline as well, of just really feeling like, well, if I reach this point in time, what is it a lifeline to? So it's like, okay, if I can do this by this stage, that by Friday, then that means that there's a lifeline to having the weekend off, for example. So just that subtle shifting of that word from deadline to lifeline, I find useful for myself to kind of relax me and help me feel motivated to reach a certain time, rather than feeling stressed and pressured around it. And I mean, there was definitely, things took longer than I wanted at times. I mean, I did keep on coming back to sort of seeing the path, not the mountain. And if I sort of focused too much on like, oh my God, I've got to do all of this by such and such a time, then that's where my energy is going. My energy is all in that sort of like going into that stress of is it going to happen? Isn't it going to happen? And it's not going into the energy of taking the step forward that I need to take. So it's a constant reminder of like if I a self-observation, self-awareness of, is my energy going into focusing on how big the task is and how am I going to do it in time, or is my energy going into taking one step at a time and moving forward slowly? And I think for me, where I am with my creativity, it's not the same as if you're doing other tasks like washing up, for example, something quite mundane, you can kind of push through and do more washing up and just kind of stay focused on it and move through. Whereas with creativity, it's like there comes a point where you can't push through to be more creative. You can't like just be like, oh no, if I just so there would be times where I'd have to. It's that balance between sitting there and moving the tools and knowing when actually that's counterproductive and I need to relax and take time out and come back when I'm feeling in the mood. So there's a lot of self-awareness in there that needs to happen. And I did a quick design for myself about regular artwork when back, maybe it was kind of quite soon after the Kickstarter, maybe April, May last year. And I was like, well, okay, I need to do regular artwork to keep moving forwards. And I realized that I had, through doing this quick design for myself, that I'd got this limit, that I was like, well, I can't do artwork in work time because artwork is play. And I can't do artwork in playtime because it's work. I'm doing it for a particular project. So it's like, oh, I've just trapped myself into not being able to do artwork in work time or playtime. So not at all. And it was like, this kind of light bulb. And it was suddenly like, actually totally reframe that. And it's okay to do artwork anytime. I'd never need to give myself a hard time by like, I should be doing emails at the moment, or I should be relaxing and reading at the moment. It's like, whenever it happens is good. So there was reframes like that happened. And another reframe that happened, I did pull out the card earlier of, where was it? Maybe I didn't pull out the card earlier. No, I didn't seem to not have done, but the naming and reframing, and that was part of the, I've talked about the deadline to lifeline and the reframing of when I can do artwork. And another one that reframe that I had was that I was doing this mandala once, and I was just doing it, and I was just like, gosh, in a decade's time, I think I'm going to look back on these mandalas and I'm going to be like, God, they're a bit crap. I can do much better now. And and then I was just like, oh, that's not very kind to myself, really. And then I remembered actually reading People and Permaculture, which there's a sort of pattern around book writers that once a book is published, they never go back and read their own book, because we're so used to reading our own work in terms of editing and proofreading, that once it's published and we can't edit and proofread, it just kind of goes on the shelf and you forget about it. And that's quite a normal thing to do. And then when I went to reprint People and Permaculture, which is then the time you do go back and you do read it, because you're allowed to correct it then and find the typos. And and so that was maybe 10 years later, and I was reading it, and I was just like, wow, this is actually really quite good, isn't it? This is like, I really thought about this a lot. And it was almost like I didn't, know it was my words. And I remembered that. And I was just like, yeah, maybe I will look back on this card deck and I will look back on these mandalas in 10 years' time and I'll go, wow, did I do that? And so, that was just another reframe that just unlocked this like feeling of like, oh, my future self, instead of my future self will think that what my past self has done is rubbish, maybe my future self will actually be really proud of what I've done and will really appreciate that. So it's another way of just reframing and just working out, that self-awareness of what's happening inside, what's the dialogue you've got going on, or for me, what I've got going on, but we've all got it, of what's going on in our heads that's somehow preventing us from moving forwards, that somehow like getting us into a sort of design trap, or a thinking trap, like with the artwork, or with our future selves or with the deadline. So I've kind of wandered a little bit past your question there, Georgie, but yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks, Helena. It's nice to share, how things happen, because, often we only see the end process of something, and we don't know how much internal struggle or how much commitment or how much reframing or discipline that something has taken to get it to that point of completion and released into the world. So yeah, I'm sort of sharing this in the hope that it might inspire some of you in your creative projects and help you to manifest what you want to in the world. Delvin, you've been part of the Kickstarter team, and also you've produced many of the card decks for yourself. So maybe you'd like to share some reflections on that, and also on the power of cards and why card decks are so useful, and why you're such a supporter of card decks.
Yay. That's so fun. Yeah, I'm really grateful to gather with all of you amazing people. This process continues to be so fun and inspiring, and it's like an adventure. I never know where it's going to lead. And so it's great to gather with new people here, and also to see some familiar faces that have been on this journey with us through the cards. I have my cards here. I actually pulled the card for today. Ooh, my background there. Discover Abundance, which says, gratitude is a potent path of discovery. Follow curiosity. Discover many ways of knowing, which I thought was really perfect, because one of the magic powers of this card deck is to help us to discover abundance within ourselves and outside of ourselves. I was thinking about a quote from Maya Angelou. She said, when we give cheerfully and accept gratefully, everyone is blessed. And I really feel that with this card. I feel like this card deck has been such a gift to my design practice. I mean, to my life practice, really. It's been this big toolkit upgrade, and like other cards that I work with, but in its own unique way, it's like a compass to activate guidance from my inner designer, from myself. What comes up for me in relation to the card that I draw, what it means in that exact moment and that unique context in my life, has been really helped me to guide myself. So that's the internal level. And then there's this external level where it's kind of like an astrolabe, like a tool for collecting with guidance from the cosmos through the synchronicity of like, what exact card do I draw in that moment, which has been also fantastic. So it feels like I'm working with something beyond myself as well, and looking out and getting a reflection that comes back in. And from astrolabe to Athanor, I mean, really, it's this thing about stoking my creative furnace too. The Athanor is the alchemical furnace of creation, and helping me get out of the box. Sometimes I'm in my own way, creatively. I'm kind of my own block, where I'm trying to come at it from too linear of a way, or come at it because that's how I did it before, or like somehow my own process is kind of blocking me. And I think these cards can really help to just transport me into new creative ways of looking at whatever's going on in my life in that moment that I'm playing with the cards. I have them on the desk next to me, so I pull them every day and get different reflections. Or if I get caught up in something, I'll pull a card, and it often is a vehicle for transporting me out of whatever situation I'm in. So yeah, I think one of the golden messages of this deck for me is about making your own card decks. It's such a great way to learn. It's been really helpful for me to deepen my learning of cultural emergence and the 8 shields. And it's a great way to share, to kind of gamify the interaction and play, bring fun into it, which I did find reading the books really fun, but there's a different quality of fun when it's a game that I'm playing with other people. So I've been using the cards with friends and getting together in small groups and playing with the cards and experimenting with different ways instead of just doing the one card, one card, one card. playing around with like what are different formats and ways that we can draw the cards in unique ways. So yeah, I gotta say, one of the highlights so far in this call, I'm excited that Aranya's working on some cards. I'm super excited about this. And maybe all of you on this call, maybe you're thinking about card decks that you might bring into being. Maybe you can use Looby's card deck to help design your own card deck. So food for thought. I appreciate the moment to chime in, and I'm really excited to see where this adventure keeps leading. And I'm very excited about the CEED course. That's where it's leading me next. And maybe I'll get to play with some of you on this course as we design different meaningful, practical things in our own lives to help unlock the next level in 2024. Thanks, Libby.
Yeah, thank you, Delvin. Yeah, yeah. I hope that there is definitely inspiration to do whatever creative project comes your way, and there's room in the world for many card decks, many books, many voices, courses, all of that. And yeah, Helena, you've written in the chat. Would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Yeah, I'm happy to. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I've been kind of thinking about this having English as a second language. I teach in Swedish, and obviously we know enough to bring English principal cards, but it just makes the distance to to reach oneself in the way it does with English, having maybe English as your mother tongue. I'm just curious if there's anybody else. I know, like I saw Tony, I don't see her anymore, but if there's others people around teaching in other languages, how is it for you to are you translating them? And yeah, yeah, thank you, Delving. Maybe that's my next project and my next design to try to translate. But it would be better maybe to, yeah, I don't know, whatever. I'm just curious how it is.
Yeah, so yeah, thank you, Helena. It's a big question, and I really appreciate all of you on the call that are listening and speaking in your second language. And definitely this is part of the card deck is part of this bigger design, which is called Going Global, and how we can take cultural emergence globally. And part of it definitely is use it, but getting it in different languages. So one of the things, as well as the physical card deck, there's also the online CEED kit, which has the potential for if people, if they can't get the shipping or would like prefer a digital copy, and that people can download and print. And then it's also got the colouring book. And what I'm working on at the moment is lots of videos for people to be able to share ideas of how to use the cards. And then the next stage, what I'm working up to then is a community translation project where you could work with other people to find nice wording in Swedish, and then because it's digital, then we'll be able to put the different languages into that digital format, and then you'll be able to print it in your own country for use on your courses. And maybe there'll be an opportunity if someone wants to print a bulk to kind of get a license to print. There's many details still to be worked out on that, but that's what I'm definitely thinking would be lovely for people to be able to, as you say, use it in your own language to get that different, more direct communication with yourself. And it needs to be I feel like it needs to be a collaborative community effort to do that, to really have those conversations in Swedish of what sounds better, this or this, or same in French and Spanish. And I'm fortunately quite what's the word? I'm just very monolingual, and so just being able to do that as a community there. Bernie saying yes, available to collaborate for the French version. Yeah, lovely. So, and Anna's here, who's currently thinking about translating people and permaculture into Portuguese. So, yeah. Yeah. Kira, would you like to come and speak, or I could read out what you've written? Would you like to unmute and speak?
Aloha. Listen, thank you so much. This is so subtle. Just everything you're saying is so interconnected, and I love how you're working together across just through the airwaves and all the subtle meanings of the cards, and just how it's just so obvious and so subtle, but so incredibly profound in the moment. It's like jaw dropping, and yeah, I'm excited to use in all different types of situations of friendships and relationships, and just daily reflection with my youth, um working with groups, working with conflict resolution, and as an artist for myself, I really appreciated what you said, like 5 minutes ago about, our self-talk. I mean, that's something that you can always just greet in the moment, and try to remember how we are um, projecting into the future. We're projecting our frequency of now into the future, and what are we creating for ourselves? It's so delicate and very subtle again. And how do we, these cards are a really good reminder to check in with that mysterious energy, like you're saying, is like what is in our field, and how we can interpret that also to our capacity of wherever we're at. But these cards are definitely a way to like open up new ways of, for instance, my husband is from Brazil, and we do a lot of permaculture together, but I work in a very intuitive feminine way, and he works in a very linear masculine way. And I was like, sweetheart, if you could just like follow me around for like a 40-day meditation and just not do what I ask you to do, but like if you could follow my speed and what I'm really like, what I'm going for, this ultimate like energy that I'm trying to attain in our projects together. So then he picked, his card was my card was be patient with beginners, and his card was be open to new ways of seeing things. I was like, our house is so cool, we could make a video and people could come here and make a movie, because we just have like a very interesting place. And he's like, oh, that's, he just like, it's a masculine and feminine thing. And so these cards are incredible, and I'm super excited to use them in all different kinds of ways. And your bright spirit is very precious. And it's been wonderful watching you and witnessing you go through the process and being here today. I'd love a recording to share with the people, because you said some really important things. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I love that. Is they do have this ability to I think cross or weave, maybe it's better, or weave between the masculine and the feminine, to weave intergenerationally, to weave between body and mind. That is part, I think, of the magic of the cards, that they have that ability to connect and to weave. And yeah, so thank you for those reflections from you, Kira. And there will be a recording for sure, so which we
Thank you
will
so
make
much.
available. Yeah.
Blessings
I
on what comes to you next.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we'll see. I've got some ideas, but I won't share them yet, because I'm still in that phase of like, okay, just appreciate that moment of completion, and allow it and bask in it before sort of running off to the next creative project and the next thing. So yeah,
Thank you
yeah,
so
thank you.
much.
And yeah, I love that we've got in, in the chat there, we've got, so collaborations on the French version, the Portuguese, the Swedish, Arabic, Greek, Dutch,
Wow.
German, and that's just from the people that are here, which is, so that's yeah, really, I feel like that will have, yeah, and yeah, thanks Aranya for that. In Dragon Dreaming, 25% of the effort and celebration. Not quite sure that I'll manage 25%, but certainly for some, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, Emma, you've been part of the process as well. Emma, I would say, is my right-hand woman. She's the one that works with me with all on the courses of like doing all the admin and website stuff, as well as working with me on the Mother Nature project, and just being totally supporting. And I think if there was one one card that I would say for that really epitomizes our relationship, or two cards, it would be this. I've got one out here, which is the receive encouragement, and that's me receiving encouragement from you, and so your card would be giving encouragement, and just how you've really supported me and just being the cheerleader from the back, from the sidelines or right next to me. So yeah, I wanted to give you a moment to share, Emma, anything you'd like to about observing the process or using the cards, because you've also used them with me on courses as well.
Oh, thank you, Looby. Well, it works two ways, and emergence happens in relationships. So I get back the same level of encouragement and cheering and surfacing of gifts that come here. It's like I just quote all the cards into one long sentence. But yeah, so it works. It's been really interesting. The first time I saw the cards was when Looby, the very, very prototype long in the distance, was on the ACE course. It did in like 2018, I think it was. And he had them on bits of paper drawn out, and they hadn't got the pictures, just had the words, some of the principles and practices emerging before the book was finished. And just to see that process from those and each version coming through and seeing your process and observing it. And I think that dedication to going, I am going to make the seemingly possible. I'm going to keep going with that process, and seeing those little bits coming down and each one coming in, and seeing in the background on the Zoom, or when I've come over, going, look at my cork boards, look at all these. It's like growing across the way, kind of like a field of grass growing, or an orchard or a wood growing, and the crop gradually getting bigger each time, seeing there more and more of it, so it's out of there. And I think that's one of the key things that I've learned from you and observing your process is this particular card. I took it out, which was make progress visible. And I think that's such an important part of it for you. That's partly like in terms of creating the artwork and doing that and actually having that inspiration, but also sharing those achievements, sharing those successes, sharing those little steps. I've done another card, I'm on 75, I'm on 85, and having that courage to share what you're doing. And a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to hide away, I'm not going to share that with anyone, this is just this secret thing I do, and I go up into the studio and I do artwork on my own. And being with those people who are there to be your supporters, I think that's one of the key things, is that not doing it on your own, and that you have that support from other people, and Delvin and Barbara and your family and John and other people that you talk to. And when you've had the prototype cards out in courses, it was fantastic last summer as they were really beginning to emerge, and you had one of the versions printed out for the Peace course, and using that up in the orchard and picking the cards up and going, oh, look at this one, oh, look at that one. Or like with you, Anna, I can see they're using that in the tots and having those cards out and being able to really put them into process and see how they worked, which would then allow you, Luby, when you're writing your little design, it's got a little book with it as well, hasn't it, telling you how to use the cards, how to use that, because you've actually used them. It's not something you've done in your room on your own and shared with nobody. You've had it out there, you've been trialing it and looking at the colors, looking at the way the cards are used, how the information is there, and really putting that in together. So I think it's fantastic. I've just been, while we've been on the call, I've been looking at them again. It's a good excuse to get them out, and just looking at how much the colors and the pictures. I just have it to have done 96 cards, but that's not 96 drawings. That's probably 500 drawings that you did between the different ones and the different versions, and getting just the perfect one, and changing ones you did when you brought in on the design web, when you decided to go with the nature pictures and the animals, and that process behind that, and trying to dream up what those be. So yeah, it's inspiring to me to watch that process. I think anytime you see someone create something, you get a bit of that into you as well. So I'm grateful. And yeah, they're also really easy to move about. I fired half my deck onto the floor while I was doing it, and the one that came up on the top, I was like, oh, I should have a card to show was make progress visible. So the one that came out on the top when I fired half the card deck onto the floor is yeah. So yeah, thank you, Luby.
Yeah, thank you, Emma.
You.
Yeah, thank you. I'd love to, if people have cards, have the cards, I'd love to have a group photo. If you, I know some people haven't got them yet, and some people they're somewhere between my house and your house. But if you've got them, I'd really, I'll just give a moment for people to get them out and see if we can do a group photo. That would be amazing. But while you're getting them out, I'll see. Yay. I think there's some people maybe run off to get them, and there's some, I know that there's some sitting there. Hey, hey, lovely. Oh yeah, beautiful. Thank you. I'd just love to share a story of this one with the red kite, and this one is presence in the process, and this was really something that yes, that's it, Peggy. Oh yeah, we've got our red kites here.
I had that one.
Yeah, it's a good one, isn't it, Peggy? And this was really something that I had to keep in mind. Again, that sort of like, where's the path? Keep with the one I'm working on now, not trying to jump ahead to 1-5 down the line, to just keep you know, it says here, observe what is actually happening right now. Lose attachment to outcomes and soar on life thermals. And I was doing this as I was, you know, watching YouTube videos and looking at images of red kites, and really absorbed in drawing red kites, and you know, up in the studio. And then I was hearing, you know, the high-pitched whistle of a bird of prey, and it was eventually kind of pierced through my consciousness and my concentration, and I went and looked out the window, and I couldn't see anything, but I was like, oh, you know, share something. And then I went at dinner time. Then my partner Chris, he said to me, and my daughter Shanti as well. They were like, did you see that red kite earlier? And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, it was just circling around the courtyard really low, really loud, like unusually low and loud. And like my daughter Shanti was just like, yeah, I'm worried about our rabbit. And then I said, oh, well, what was this, like, you know, sort of 20 minutes ago? And because that was when I was drawing the red kite. And my daughter Shanti was like, oh, I don't need to worry about the the rabbit, it was you. And she was like, you were literally drawing it in. Drawing the red kite in. So that was one of the synchronicities that happened with the card deck. But there was many synchronicities that happened through the process, but that was definitely a memorable one.
Looby.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I have the deck on my desk, and I've been pulling cards periodically, and I have this little lamp that has a little groove in it that I can put one of the cards sort of right in front of me. And I had this one with the red kite on the back, but as I was listening to this wonderful conversation, I looked at observe what's happening right now, and I love the process that this call just was, with all of the contributions and the offers to do things in different languages and the different ways to use the cards. I mean, this is a wonderful example to me of, you know, how to move with these things beyond just my own self. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Peggy. Yeah, it's lovely. I think this is, you know, one of my hopes and my visions for the card deck as well, is that it becomes this this almost like this like mycelium that connects us all, that connects us as change makers, that, you know, that when you're picking this card here, that there was maybe someone thousands of miles away that's also picking this card, that's thinking about how, you know, how can I be present in the process at the same time that you're thinking that, and how through that it's like creating this field of a connection with us all as change makers, and that will grow and support us. And
That's the cultural emergence.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That this is it, that it's that's kind of the vision for cultural emergence, is that it becomes this language, and this, like mycelium, this way of like transmitting information and transmitting nutrients and ideas and concepts and thoughts between all of us that are visioning a new world, visioning this regenerative world, this future that we're proud of for future generations, that we're connected through that, through it. And it so might seem like a simple card deck, and like it's just a game, but it's more than that, and it has that potential for much more as well, which is, I find I find exciting, because I don't know where that's going to go, or how that's going to be. Yeah.
Thanks for bringing it forward.
Yeah, I'd like to hear with the you know, with the online seed kit, I'm going to be producing short videos about how to use things, and then have the opportunity for people to share in there. So anyone that has you know, idea of what they'd like to see there, what they'd like to hear about. Or any other comments or questions or reflections anyone would like to share. No. I see there's a reflection from Heather in the chat there. Thanks for creating the cards, inspired by the spider card, yeah, so the integration card, which is part of the design web. that Julie Gibbons was sharing on her online Creative Kaylee, and I love that this idea that she was sharing it online as part of her she's got a mandala magic school, so she's definitely been one of the people that I have to appreciate greatly for her mandala inspiration. And yeah, following your curiosity path to be here. That's lovely. Yes, Emma, I'd love to something about using the cards to help do a design or to help find the golden key in it. Yeah, so I think it is, it's part of the ways in which you can use the cards is to use your body wisdom and to see where, both in terms of like which card to pick, but also when you pick a card, what's that wisdom that's coming through your body, whether it's excitement or like trepidation or like expansiveness, or what's coming through you as a way of understanding and understanding your design and your place in it, so that it becomes this dialogue between yourself and your design and your body wisdom. Yeah, I think that's where, yeah, where it's yes. Yeah, Georgie, yeah, put them on your wish list and see how they manifest for you. Yeah, I'm really grateful for all of you for being here and celebrating with me, because it does feel like it's been a big journey, and one that yeah, I'd also like to also celebrate and give gratitude to Kathy Otto, who isn't here tonight, but she is just an example of someone coming at the right moment as well. She was like, oh, I want to do a work exchange for some of your courses. I was like, well, what skills have you got? And she's like, oh, I'm a graphic designer and can do all the technical side of print things. So I was like, I need exactly that person. And so, she was able to take all the images, do the Photoshop technical stuff, which I don't even know what sort of technical magic she did, but she managed to take my artwork from the scanning and then get it to the printers and do all the layout and stuff. So she did an awful lot of work, which I'm really grateful for, because it was definitely I think with any project like this, there's always a point at which you realize that there's some skills that are useful to go to someone who's already skilled and to use them, and it's like you're never doing something in isolation. Another question for Georgie: how long has the journey of creating the cards been? Well, it's a little bit of a how long's a piece of string, that question, because we could trace it back to like, well, okay, we started the journey with Cultural Emergence in 2016, and even then the idea of having a card deck was somewhere in the mix. And then when I writing the book was when I started to putting visuals to the principles, and it was interesting realizing that I was thinking that I was really procrastinating about those visuals, but what I then realized was when I was working on the visuals that I found it really hard to work on the text, and I realized that like they're different parts of my brain working at the same time. So I was already putting images together with the for the principles back in 2020, but then I sort of left that alone I sort of created the principal colouring deck, and then it's really been this year. No, we're in 24, sorry, 23, last year. I haven't done it all in the last few weeks. In 23, when I sort of really started focusing properly on it, and then doing the Kickstarter, was like, okay, there's a commitment to this properly happening. And then, yeah, as Emma said, there's, for every image, there's been many images behind that that have been done. And then there was and then, you know, many different things, like I wasn't sure how to do the backgrounds, and then actually Anna, who is here, when she was here at Applewood, we were talking about, you know, having frames for the cards, and that was instead of backgrounds, and how to, you know, there's a very useful conversation with Anna and Kathy in the studio about how to kind of bring these ideas and make them more cohesive together and pull them together. And that was back in June. And then it was really like August, September, October. So about 3 months when I did every single drawing from scratch. But I had already had, you know, done a lot of the drafts and conceptual ideas. So it's quite, you know, difficult to say like when the start of the process was, and when, well, clearer to say when the end of the process was, because that was very much a hit send to the printer. Yeah, a long process. Yeah, I'm loving the enthusiasm for the translations. Let's have a more of a yeah, I didn't even ask. You've got lots of questions for me, Georgia. It's great about the process. Did I have set myself a goal of completing X number of cards a day, or was it go with the flow? It was more of a go with the flow, but it was definitely, you know, there were times when I was just like, okay, I'll do one today, do two to get a day. Some days doing more. Just definitely a kind of a daily practice of doing some, for sure. Kareem, you have a question, your hand up to hear from you.
Yeah, just want to give thanks to everything I've been learning with you through all the books and the courses that I've attended. And yeah, actually just wanted to share regarding the coloring book also. Before receipt, like I still haven't received the card deck, because to be transferred to Lebanon, it takes a whole process. So I'm going through France and so on, coordinating with Looby about it. But just want to share a reflection on how I've been using the coloring book in a beautiful way, and it's been really serving in all like social circles and birthdays. And when you mentioned the story with Katie, I'm like, yeah, and I have it right here. Emergence happens in relationships, and coloring it and putting it on my fridge in the kitchen, and just thought of all the different kind of interactions I've been having just by printing the coloring book and bringing them into different social circles, and how that they forge different dynamics. And also the privilege and gratitude for having joined most of the modules in Applewood permaculture, to know how to even kind of visualize what Emma was also pointing at, like to use these practices in certain settings. And this is what I'm really longing to learn, and to be able to kind of hold these spaces, and which goes in line with that vision of myceliating globally, and using it as, for me, like cultural emergence is this accessible language, and it's amazing that we would be translating it into local languages and kind of speaking a similar language globally. So I'm like, this is, yeah, I'm just like so excited for the future of all of that and the myceliation, and a lot of gratitude to everything I've been learning through the journey with you and everyone here as well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing about the coloring book, because that was part of it when I after having you know, spent the time doing the drawings for the principals, and then they you know, then they when the book came, I was like, it's a coloring book. I can color in all these black and white principles, because I really enjoy that. And then I was also, you know, as I was using that, and then I was you know, when I started thinking about the cards, I was like, well, what colors can I do? I could use this colors, or I could use greens, or I could use purples, or and trying all these different things. And I was like, maybe I just need to release a coloring book and let everyone choose their own colors. And what I found with using the coloring book on courses, I start with that, printing them out and getting everyone to pick one and start coloring. And it's just such an accessible way to kickstart people's creativity, for people to go, oh yes, I'm part of this. I can be part of the creative process of this course. So I've been loving using it in that way. And then actually Delvin gave me the idea of then swapping people's pages, so that then you're coloring in your own, and then you're like, oh, now I've got someone else's. And I've tried that, and that's a lovely way of actually just embodying that idea of emergence happening in relationship. And then, you know, someone else had planned and flow, and it was just like, oh yeah, I was planning with my own colors, and then suddenly I'm flowing with others. And so it was just this complete embodiment of the principles in the process of coloring them in. It's really beautiful. Yeah. Yes. Wow. Well, it's been great to celebrate. I wonder if there's, and we've got a few minutes left, if there's anyone that would like to share anything, or ask any last questions or comments or reflections. I wonder, maybe Delvin, if you've got something that you'd like to share. You must have a quote in there somewhere, I think.
Yeah, I seem to always have the quotes. I do really appreciate them a lot. I've been reading a lot of Mary Oliver lately, who really inspires me. She said, "So come to the pond, or the river of your imagination, or the harbor of your longing, and put your lips to the world and live your life." And I think this deck really lights up my life. I feel like it's a life force. It's a force of nature. And I'm really grateful that it's brought me together today and again with people in this super fun and engaging and creative way. And I'm just really excited to continue to play and learn and grow together and meet up in classes and all these free online offerings that you do, Looby. And the Circle Space is an amazing online platform where we can connect and play together and share and encourage each other and motivate. And that's really great for momentum and just keeping us moving forward, and the dance of navigating life's opportunities and challenges. And yeah, there's so much positive energy from your work, Looby, and from all of the people on this call. So many of your bright faces. It's amazing just looking at all the people on this call and seeing them present here with their own special magic. It's really a blessing. So I look forward to hearing more about different ways people play with the cards, different unique creative processes that work for single people or for two people or for five people or larger groups of people. I think it's a real creative collaboration, and that's one of the things that's so exciting about it. It's so open-ended. So I look forward to collaborating with all of you with the cards and in different ways in relation to this amazing cultural emergence community that we're co-creating.
Yay, thank you. Yeah, I really feel the community here, and I know that many people watching the recording as well will be a part of that community. And I thought I'd pick a card for us to end, and it was this one here, which is synchronize with natural patterns and cycles, surf the waves of waxing and waning, follow your own needs, notice the flows of days and seasons. And yeah, we're feeling that, you know, we're very much in this full moon energy, and this in the coming out of winter, there's like this just before spring energy. And so I feel like there's there'll be in the certainly in the northern hemisphere, and there'll be a burst of energy spring growth there with the cultural emergence community. And yeah, I hope to see many of you weaving your stories, weaving designs, and yeah, and engaging more with the cultural emergence tools, and yeah, coming together as change makers. And I feel like there's definitely some energy here for the global translations and how we can connect more. So yeah, really appreciate all of you being here. Thank you so much. And I'll let you all unmute and say goodbye on your way out, or we'll stop the recording, but I'll hang around for a bit if anyone wants to share.